Greetings, fellow classic TV fans, and welcome to the Retro TV Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Pat McCormack. On today's show, we are joined by the multi-talented, Emmy-nominated Wally Kurth. This fine actor has been a fixture on daytime television for over 35 years, and he continues to this very day playing Justin Kiriakis on Days of Our Lives and Ned Quartermaine on General Hospital. I had the distinct honor of sharing the musical stage with this man for many years as a member of the Emmy Award-winning band Kurth Taylor. Every second of that was a complete pleasure, and I'm sure as you get to know Wally in this interview, you'll see why. Enjoy! Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podcast my dear friend, the iconic Wally Kurth. Wallace!
Hello, Patrick.
How are you, buddy?
I'm down here in Southern California, and you're up there in Northern California. We don't see each other like we used to, and we're not playing gigs anymore, so I miss you.
Well, it's mutual, my friend, and at least I see you're still doing music, which kind of goes hand in hand with your character, which is, well, let's start off by identifying that character, which, of course, has been on the daytime television screens it's been 36 years plus.
Well, honestly, it was in 87, and this is now 2023, so it's 36 years. 36 years ago this month, it was in January. I remember going into the audition for Days of Our Lives, and it was right after the Christmas break. And, it was funny. I was just talking to my brother, and I was telling him how we're like 6 months ahead, the tape shows to the air shows. And he said, wasn't it just like a couple weeks in the past? I go, well, it was even closer than that. When I got the role of Justin Kiriakis on Days of Our Lives, we actually worked on a Saturday, which was the first and only Saturday I've ever worked in daytime television. And it was going to air that Thursday. So that's how close we were to, taping and airing. So I think they usually were like a week and a half, but for some reason, well, I can tell you why. They couldn't find the right actor to play the role, and evidently they weren't sure about Wally Kurth playing the role of Justin. So I don't know what that. I guess there was a little bit of a delay to get.
Well, now I think they're sure. I'm pretty sure they're sure, Wally.
I think I've locked in now.
Yeah, I mean you're doubly locked in, but we'll get to that other guy in a second. Of course, I know a lot about your past because we have shared tremendous experiences together and moments on stage that I will never forget. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. The question really is, what started it? Now, I know that you came from Billings, Montana, and went straight to Broadway.
Yeah. I mean, I was the youngest of 5 kids, and I was always singing. So singing and music singing in particular was just always a passion of mine. So I'd hear something on the radio and I would just, start singing along, and usually it was the same song repeated over and over and over again. That's my autism, just repeating it over and over and over again. And my brothers would say, shut up or sing another song. But I was always singing. And so when I was 11 years old, my teacher, they were doing a high school production of Oliver, and my 6th grade teacher evidently knew that I was a singer because I was probably singing loud in class. And she said, I really think you should go down and audition for this, down to the high school and audition with all the other boys. They got almost every boy in Billings, Montana to go down there and sing a few bars. And I got the role of the Artful Dodger. Actually, they double cast it. So there's 2 Artful Dodgers and 2 Olivers. And it was just such a thrill, to be on stage. And, I think for people, actors, they do have to definitely catch the bug, and they have to have an experience that is impactful. And it was definitely very impactful. It was really exciting. It's a really fun role. And, I just remember people standing up and applauding and afterwards asking for my autograph. And I went, well, this is cool. I do like attention. and I love to sing. All right. Well, this is going to work. This is working out just fine. And, I was kind of a class clown. I was always getting in trouble. I was always like, teachers were always just saying, just stop talking and just, can you concentrate? So I think I really was a little ADD. I was the kid. I was definitely the actor that was, like you hear a lot of actors just looking out the window, daydreaming, not really focusing on what was happening on the chalkboard. So I needed an outlet, and I needed to dream. I was always like watching television and thinking like, well, could I do that? So I knew when I left high school in Billings that that's something that I wanted to pursue. So I was lucky in that regard that I was pretty focused. And I also had a confidence that I thought I could do it. And that also helps. So that's kind of how I got started. I was lucky to have an experience when I was 11, and it just made me think that this is something I want to do and something that I thought I was good at and I could do it, which are two different things, but two very important things.
Right. Well, and I've witnessed that firsthand, that you can do it and you can back it up. And so the thing was, you broke onto Broadway. It was kind of an odd experience, the way you fell into The Pirate King, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I went to UCLA. I was a theater major, but I was also taking musical theater classes. There wasn't a musical theater major at UCLA. There was just we'd have on Saturday, we'd sing musicals and stuff. And, it's funny. I mean, I was not in a band, but I was taking guitar lessons in college. I started playing guitar like at 18, 19, actually 19, I think, was when I bought my first guitar, when I came down here to LA, and I took some guitar lessons one summer, and that was really the extent of my guitar lessons. So I was always sort of focused on theater, and I really gained a passion for theater history and what that was as it from an actor's point of view. And so I was in going to school, and there was a non-equity chorus call downtown for the national tour of Pirates of Penzance that was going to be starring Barry Bostwick and Andy Gibb and Pam Dauber. And I just went to the chorus call, and I had a really, really big range. I was I really wanted to do Tony and West Side Story. So I was really singing a lot of really high stuff, trying to be a tenor, which I'm really not. I'm really a high baritone. But I was really hitting those high notes, and I have a natural low voice as well, so I could hit the really low notes. So the music director was just he liked that I was a freak, that I could hit this high B flat and I could hit this low E flat. And so I was one of the few pirates that was mic'd. So I could, so I really felt kind of like, oh, okay, they really want my voice out there more than, most of the other pirates weren't really mic'd. Well, none of them were. But there was people off stage singing. So I had to make sure that I could hit the high B flat on, hail, that whole thing. Come, friends, to plow the sea. And then the low E flat. A policeman's lot is not a happy one. And anyway, they got me. I ended up being the second understudy for the Pirate King in San Francisco. And then the first understudy got sick, and he was also the sergeant. So I ended up playing the sergeant who had to hit that low E flat. So I was able to do that. And then John Belushi died. Jim was our Pirate King, and I was then his now understudy. So when he went to the funeral, I was thrust on stage in Chicago at the Shubert Theater, and I was 22 years old. I couldn't even grow a beard. I had a mustache. So I glued on a beard and tried to make myself look, mid-40s, or mid-30s, which is what Kevin Kline and Treat Williams and Gary Sandy, all those guys were playing. I mean, Jim was probably late 20s, so you didn't have to be that old. But I looked like a kid. I looked really young, but I could do it vocally, and I was, I'd steal all the best bits that, from Barry Bostwick and Jim, and come up with a few of my own, and I made the role my own, and anyway, to make a long story short, they moved me to the New York company, and I was the first understudy there. Jim was on Broadway then, and so when he left, I ended up doing the last 3 months of the Broadway run of Pirates of Penzance at the old, I think the Minskoff Theater, which I think the Minskoff is still there. So it was really thrilling, really exciting, and I was completely, not expecting to be a student at UCLA, and a mere 19 months later, or 16 months later, I was starring on Broadway with my name in lights. So it was something I could have never planned.
Yeah. Yet it was fate, and I can speak from experience, which is really kind of a cool place for an interviewer to be, having worked with you on stage. And that is, folks, this man can sing, and I mean really sing. I found myself so many times on stage when we were doing Kurth and Taylor where I kind of forgot I was in the band. I'm up there playing right alongside you guys, and there's a lot of people in front of us, and I'm like, man, I'm such a fan of this guy. Wait a minute. I just missed my guitar solo. Wake up, Pat.
Well, let me tell you something, my friend. Feelings mutual. You know, you're a guitar player. I'm a singer, and we appreciate each other's talent. And I loved standing next to you and hearing you just, you know, those searing guitar solos and, you know, just do what you do best. And so let me just throw that out there right now, that I'm a huge fan of yours as well. And it was a privilege being on stage with you. And I missed that time. And, you know, I'm sure we'll get back there and do it again. But thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Well, gosh, I hope so. And I'm going to hold you to that, by the way. We've got it. We've got it here documented. But again, those were such wonderful times. And the fact that I got to be on the show with you was even cooler. I mean, it was just a handful of times for me. But what was great was being able to see you work and how effortless it was, you know, with Days of Our Lives, which, of course, is still going. That was where you started. And then, of course, you developed your character on General Hospital, who, of course, was Ned Ashton. I was always kind of confused. Ned Ashton Quartermaine, is it?
Well, you know what? The character changed got rid of his last name, Ashton, and legally became Quartermaine. So he is Ned Quartermaine. I am Ned Quartermaine now. So yeah, Ashton's gone, which is good. It was always confusing.
Yeah. Well, I got to say this. I got an opportunity to see you act, and I'm working that way. If I hadn't heard the term at one point or other, maybe it was Christian Taylor. It was like, look, it's one take Wally. Watch this. Where all these other actors, these very prominent daytime actors, are struggling just to get a single take.
Well, yeah, I you know, it's the alliteration that I like. One take Wally is. I'm not always one take. I strive for it, and now. One of the reasons why I think I'm, I do both shows now. And I think one of the reasons is because I do try to prepare myself to, deliver my performance in one take. So I kind of look at it like, okay, it's opening night and closing night, just like the theater, although theater is usually not a closing night, immediate closing night, but there's definitely an opening night. And so I do sort of look at it like, okay, be prepared. Magic time. Let's know what you're doing and go out there and, hopefully it is a little magical. And so that's what I hope for. That's what I strive for. We'll see. That doesn't always happen, but you strive for perfection and you have to basically sometimes accept mediocrity. That's how I stay sane, Pat.
Well, I never saw that. I never saw the mediocrity part. But, of course, I was only there for a handful of episodes. But the thing was, the question in my mind is, here you are, two very established characters on these shows. I'm assuming, because I'd never been on the Days set, that they are different studios.
Yeah.
So thus, you really couldn't have the problem of confusing the characters, right? I mean,
yeah.
Wait, who am I?
Oh.
Which am I? Wait.
Yeah, I never confused. I mean, there are days, honestly, like maybe 2 or 3, 4 times a year, I'll do both shows on the same day. And the producers, they're great. They work around my schedule. And I'm very lucky that I am able to do, because also they're both on different networks. So I'm not under contract to either show. So they put up with that. If I was under contract to one show, I think it'd be a little harder for a network. Networks don't like doing that. But it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I'm not really, if I'm really, really busy, like if the writers feel like on Days of Our Lives, it's happened a couple times where if they really know I'm going to be in a big story for the next 6 months, they'll put me under contract. So then they'll have, sort of they'll have priority. And then General Hospital will work around that a little bit more, knowing that I'm under contract to Days. But normally I'm not under contract either. Like, for instance, now I'm not under contract either show, and I like it. And that way I can do both shows, and I love doing both shows. So it works out great for all of us.
Isn't that something? So it's in a way not being under contract, which I would think would be a very desirable thing for an actor, works better for you because it makes it so that you're able to do both.
Yeah. So the late, great John Aniston, who just passed away a couple months, may he rest in peace. Yes. Wonderful. He was a mentor of mine. And I just remember him, like when I first came back to Days of Our Lives, he was, because I wasn't under contract, and he was like, "Wally, you don't want to be under contract." I'm like, I kind of looked at him like, "Well, why?" He goes, first of all, when they got to make cuts, they're gonna be cutting the guys who are under contract, and they're having to pay a lot of money to. That's the guy that's going to lose his job. You're going to slide right underneath. You're not even going to know that they won't even know you're working there. And I thought, well, I never thought of that. And he loved it. He loved it. Like, you know what? And it's true. When all the cuts have to happen, you're not on the chopping block when you're not under contract. So
that must have thrilled him to just be right,
Yeah. Oh, he wasn't under contract for like probably the last 20, 30 years of his. I mean, he was, but he worked on Days of Our Lives a lot. He was, obviously he was there to the end, and it didn't matter. If the writers want to write for you, they're going to write for you. And as you get older, obviously they want to put a lot of, the new characters and the younger characters obviously are important to, the demos and obviously the show. So us veteran actors, and I'm a veteran actor, we're not working regularly every day like, I used to. And so it makes more sense, business wise, to not have to worry about my contract and not to worry about, being under or over what they owe me. And so.
Well, and it goes without saying that you're just totally reliable, and you're going to be there. You're going to be there for a long time. And how wonderful that you had that relationship with John. I mean, I'm sure he was quite happy with his offspring as well. And
yeah, it's funny. I never talked to him about her. We talked a little bit, but not a lot. We didn't really get into it. And anyway, it's funny because Deborah, my wife, watches Friends sort of in the background all the time when she's cooking. Just it's sort of like, it's just like she's not really focusing on it, but it's just like not background noise, but just sort of there to kind of comfort, just sort of. And so I watch it now, and it's really funny. I mean, it holds up, and I never really watched it regularly. And I'll stop and just start looking at it, and then I'm just laughing. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen this show before. I've never seen this episode. I mean, so it is amazing. It really is pretty hilarious and amazing.
Well, and I'll be sure to hold back on that rumor that I heard that Jennifer Aniston, we're talking about here, folks, always had a crush on you, Wally. I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me? I promote that rumor. I'm not going to promote it. I'm not going to promote it on tape, however, because I don't want to be, I don't want anything on record. But
too late.
Yes, I was told that, and that's all I'm going to say. When she was a teenager. And I mean a teenager, she came to the set because she evidently had a crush on me, and she and her friend came to the set, and we took a picture on the set. So I knew that she did. So I was told that. But anyway, actually I saw her at the funeral. It was nice to see her and give her a hug, and I hadn't seen her for forever. So that was nice to reconnect.
And let me just say, I know your lovely wife, and you did okay, my friend.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, I'm doing the math. I'm somewhat in shock. Tell me this isn't right. Is it going to be your 20-year anniversary?
Yeah. Wow.
And I got to say this, too. You guys were brilliant, because this is the only couple that I know that had fireworks 2 different ways on their wedding day. Well, I'm assuming. I know there was one way because you got married on the 4th of July.
One was figurative and one was literal. Yes, we were married on the 4th of July, and yes, indeed.
We were watching the finale. I think somebody said, "You're gonna have to top that one, Wally."
Yeah. We could see the fireworks in the distance.
It's true. That was wonderful. So, General Hospital.
Yes.
Show's been on for a while. I think we could call that classic television, folks. And
we are on this April will be 60 years. We will be celebrating the 60th.
Is that all?
60th year of General Hospital. Yeah, April 1963. Crazy, huh?
Well, it is crazy. And you know what's even more crazy, I just got to throw this in there. I interviewed Butch Patrick this morning.
Uh-huh.
And he was on GH the very first year.
Oh, wow.
As a child actor.
Oh, wow. That's great. That is great.
And he just brought that up out of the blue. And I was just thinking, holy smokes, that's going to be one to talk to Wally about. Because
yeah, so that was before Eddie Munster. So it was during that time.
Yes. Not long before, because that was 64. And yeah.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Must have been right before. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, and I got to share with you my first experience of coming on the set, because I don't know if I'd actually joined the band at that point. The fictitious band, Eddie Maine and the Idle Rich, boy, is really going to confuse people. But I'll explain it all, believe me, in post. Yeah. Because this was a fake band that was a real band.
Yeah.
And we could do a whole nother episode on what we did. But when I first came to the set, I met you a few times, and I came there with CT, Kurth Taylor, our friend, a talented friend, I might add. And you were shooting a scene, and there, just standing out in the wings, not working, was Stuart Damon and John Engel. And I got to meet him. And I when I was playing in a band with CT, ironically, during the early 80s, we were touring and had nothing to do during the day. And of course, I just fell in love with Luke and Laura, and there I was,
Yeah.
I was a GH guy.
Yeah. Nice.
And meeting Stuart was just a thrill. And oh my gosh, John, I mean, they were the nicest people. I was starstruck, but at the same time, they didn't make me feel, I don't know, they made us feel just so welcome.
Yeah.
And such warm personalities.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, I haven't done, as you know, as people are maybe listening to this, I've done a few guest stars on different shows and different mediums, but pretty much my entire career has been daytime television. And the people, the cast, the crew, they're just wonderful. I mean, I've always looked at daytime TV as we're the blue collar job. Movies. Yeah. I mean, they work hard, obviously, but they're getting, the actors themselves, they're definitely not blue collar. They're like, they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
We don't make as much money, and we work really, really hard. We do a hell of a lot more pages a day than they do. And it's just a different thing. And I think that has to do with it too. I think everyone has this sort of blue collar mentality, and we're all, we're all humble and, full of humility when we work, and we don't think of ourselves as anything, more important than the guy who's pulling cables and the guy who's lowering the boom mics and everyone else. At least that's my attitude. We're a team, and that's how I think everyone feels.
Yeah. No, I don't think I met, in the time that I was there, I never met a single arrogant, but I didn't notice it at all. Everybody was just so wonderful. And those two guys especially, I mean, it's Prince Charming, for cripe's sakes. And I'm like...
Well, let me tell you something, Pat. I felt the same way. So it was like in 1977, 78, and I was just on my way down to California, and I remember seeing General Hospitals, and I went, oh, that's Prince Charming. I mean, I remembered. So he was Prince Charming, in the early 60s. So I remember there was 15 years later, I'm like, there he is. Wow. He's doing a soap opera. Well, that's cool. And it actually made me think like, oh, soap operas are, so that's like, it's not a bad job. It's Prince Charming's doing it. I mean, I never went out to LA to be Prince Charming, but I never went out to LA to I just wanted to work. I didn't really have a specific, I just want, it's funny, Pat, and what I really wanted was I did want a long career. I didn't want to be a flash in the pan. I wanted to make sure that whatever I did, I was still able to do it when I was older. And that was about the only kind of deep down feeling I had. Because I remember going out for sitcoms when before I started doing days. And I remember thinking like, okay, is this the sitcom? Do I want to do this sitcom? I mean, really, it's like, what if I don't do anything else after this? Because a lot of people have sitcoms, and you probably talked to some of them, you know, they don't quite have that, you know, another sitcom under them or another, you know, sometimes it's sort of the last time you hear from them. And I, for some reason, was aware of that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have that career. So what have I found? I found the career that I found the genre that I could be, you know, doing the same character for 30 years. And I guess that's what deep down I sort of always wanted. And so I feel like I really am having the career that I planned and that was the most satisfying for me.
Well, let's face it, it's a dream career because you're getting to do what you love. You're not seeing any opportunity, unforeseen. Okay, well, this didn't work. We're going to cancel. And I mean,
Right.
I know soap operas have definitely been challenged since I was on there with you.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, there's only 4 left. When I started, you could probably do the math, but I don't. Back in '87 when I started, I'm pretty sure there was at least 4 on CBS. There was 4 on NBC. There was 4 on ABC. So what is that? 12?
Yeah, crazy.
Maybe I think there might have been even another one on NBC. Might have had 5, so 12, 13, and now there's 4. So it really has changed. And but the thing of it is, what I love and what I was saying was that it's just the work. You know, all actors just want to get a script. They want to work. They want to get on a set. They want to like pretend and play pretend and just, you know, go there and have fun and just, you know, just get lost in our imaginations and our characters and in this stuff. And it's just, you know, I feel very blessed that I'm still doing it at my age and doing it as long as I have, and people are still sending me scripts.
Yeah. Well, and even better, coming from the musical standpoint, it's always great to see you pulling out the Gibson acoustic.
Yeah.
And just laying it down. It's like, okay, folks, you think I can act? Wait until you hear this.
Wow. That's nice of you.
Well, it's true. Again, I'm not blowing smoke because I've seen it. I've heard it. There's many fans who, of course, agree with my assessment. And it's great. It's great that they're still integrating the fact that Ned can sing his butt off, even though he's not Eddie Maine.
We still have the nurse's ball on occasion. So, yeah, you're right. I get to do that. Yeah. And last year, I think they had me come in and sing a song, and they asked me if I wanted to write it. And I said, you know what? I haven't written for a while. Let's do it. And I don't know if I told you this, but I asked Deborah to help me, and we wrote it together. She really helped me with the lyrics, which was really fun. She's really good. And I had a ball writing it. And I'm like, Deborah, we got to let's do an album. You do the lyrics. We can do this. I know we can. We had so much fun writing together. And, you know, writing together is hard. I mean, you know, you got to have, I don't know, you just got to have fun and know that you can be silly and know that you can be dumb and say, you know, sing a lyric that's, you know, ridiculous and not feel like, you know, you're, you know, like your partner's looking at you like you're an idiot. It's very vulnerable. Let's put it, it's very vulnerable writing. And for some reason, Deborah and I at least I trusted her, and we were just having so much fun and laughing and just, you know, coming up with this stuff. And it really turned out, I was just singing it the other night. I'm like, oh my God. And we only did like a verse and a chorus. And I go, first of all, we have to finish it. I said, we haven't even finished it. We only did like a minute. That's all they wanted on the show. But anyway, I played it on the show, and it worked out great. Everyone seemed to really, really like it. And, so, yeah, I mean, they still ask me to perform on General Hospital, and it's great. I'm lucky.
That's fantastic. So the new Kurth and Kurth album is coming out. I'm sure it'll be a major success. I'm thinking, gosh, maybe I should try writing a song with my wife. And it's like, I can see us now in the divorce court. They're going, so exactly what happened? Well, you see.
No, I totally get it. No, absolutely. But I think it's because Deborah is a lawyer. She has no interest in, being a lawyer. She was like, well, I got nothing to lose. She was just thrown out there. But it's so funny because she is the lyricist. When she listens to a song, she starts telling me all the lyrics. And I go, I didn't even hear that. I'm a music guy. I realize I'm just listening to the melody. And it's funny when we watch TV as well, I'm watching behavior. I don't often listen to the dialogue as much as she does. And so I'll have to pause and go, wait, what just happened? To explain to me like, oh yeah. Because as an actor, I'm not listening to the dialogue. I'm watching the actor behave. And I have to really sometimes go, okay, I'm put on my listening ears, just follow the story, don't start watching an actor do his thing, because I'm an actor that does his thing. That's what I often focus on. Anyway, it's funny that's just part of. She's a lyricist, and I'm a melody guy, and she's the lyrical person. So
that's beautiful. And so, Your Honor, my friend Wally and Deborah, they made beautiful music together. I know that a lot of our daytime friends are going to get a real kick out of this.
All right, Patrick. Thank you very much. It was great talking to you again. And call me anytime.
Thanks for being on the show. And I'm going to probably have you back so we can talk a bit more about the music aspect of our friendship, because that was a fun era. But for now, Thanks, buddy.
All right, Patrick. Great talking to you.
You too. There you have it. Another Retro TV Radio episode in the books. Be sure to check out Wally's new quartet, The Day Players, which is comprised of his fellow daytime acting buddies. Go to thedayplayersband.com to find out more and view their upcoming dates. I'll also leave the links in the description to join Wally's social media community. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast and leave me a positive review. This is your host, Pat McCormack, and thanks for listening to Retro TV Trivia.